Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick things off with a story where one small prank snowballed into total workplace chaos, a surprise firing, and even a lockdown. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. A petty April Fool's joke accidentally exposed a bigot at work. To preface, I work at a firm in the southern states in a pretty small office, about 20 people, and we're pretty unorthodox. Trivia, play mini golf inside, and can watch videos while working, etc. I, 25-year-old female, have been here a year, and Phil has been here 6 years. Our office began expanding with new hires that include a few minorities, including me, and a few other Hispanic people whose primary language is Spanish. Phil is a very religious old white man, about 58, with very traditional values and likes things to be his way. Recently, since all the new hires started, he's been very rude to some of the new hires that work here, especially the Hispanic people. He said stuff like, well, you can just go back to Mexico when in disagreement, and black people don't need a national anthem. If you think otherwise, then you're racist. I'm pretty nice to Phil when he speaks to me. I'm pretty sure he's very alone in this world, and I think his mental health was starting to take a toll, and I have a grandpa with dementia, who's not an AH, just to clarify, LOL, so I gave the guy grace. And so did the HR department in our small office. We consider him a very useful asset to the company, so our boss just told him not to talk to anybody unless it's strictly regarding work. Because I guess his comments were small talk. Fast forward to the week before April Fool's Day, and I planned to pull a prank on a coworker. I bought a little multi-frame and was going to place pictures of this other coworker sleeping at his desk and was going to display it on my desk for all to see. We're friends, by the way. I did all that the night before, and lo and behold, the next morning my frame had Jesus is risen and Happy Easter in it. Phil's doing. I love Jesus like the next person, but that was my effing property on my damn desk. So after some thought, I wanted to pull a small, petty prank on Phil, so I placed a small piece of paper between the battery and the connection in his mouse that night. When I tell y'all, this man had little evidence bags written with red marker of the mouse, the battery, and the paper on our boss's desk the next morning. He was specifically accusing one of my Hispanic coworkers because they've argued in the past. Phil was saying, "You're a effing lying piece of crap" to him, and then telling our boss he's a effing liar. This is all heard through closed doors and over some cubicles, so I might have missed some words, but I know a cuss word when I hear one. So I went to the boss's office and told him I pulled the prank and what happened the day before with the frame. He said it's okay, just don't mess with Phil again. Later that day, Phil was still pissed that our boss wasn't confronting who he thought pulled the prank, and even some accomplices, none of which included me. They were screaming, arguing, and it was Phil's last day as he was fired. April Fools? And Phil has given gun threats post his firing, and we had to lock our doors to any without a key for a few months. Wow, I'm just now starting to realize the damage I caused. Talk about a butterfly effect. Sounds like Phil was a minor inconvenience away from hurting people anyway. Good thing you vicariously let that metaphorical bomb off in a safer environment. And our second story. Karen grabbed me for not helping her. My wife made sure she never tried that again. This happened in 2022, not long after my family moved into a new apartment close to a Metro Cash and Carry, a massive wholesale store that's something like a cross between Walmart and a warehouse club. It's owned by a German company, though it was later acquired by Reliance, and mostly caters to small business owners and bulk buyers. Think restaurant owners, local grocers, shopkeepers, anyone who needs a 50-pound sack of lentils and 12 liters of cooking oil in one trip. Now, I'm a tall guy, really tall, 6'5", in a country where the average height is about 5'5". Because of that, I'm constantly asked by fellow shoppers to reach items off the higher shelves. I don't mind helping, a pack of pasta here, a tin of ghee there, sure. But when it comes to anything heavy, say 5 kilograms or more, I try to avoid pulling it down from high shelves, not because I can't lift it, but because I've learned the hard way that heavy items tend to bring down a shower of dust or worse, other poorly stacked products. Not exactly a fun time. Anyway, my wife and I were at Metro tackling the long weekend restock. To be efficient, we split up. She headed to the oil and spice section, and I made my way to grains and cereals. While browsing, I spotted a great deal on 1 kilogram packs of wheat. Oddly enough, they were cheaper per kilo than the larger 5 kilogram bags. I reached up to the near-empty top shelf and started pulling a few down for myself. That's when a soft voice behind me said, "Could you please get 5 of those for me too, Beta?" It was an older woman, polite and sweet. I was happy to oblige, passed her 5 packs, and she thanked me and went on her way. Cue Karen. I was pushing my cart toward the lentils when I heard a sharp "excuse me" echoing down the aisle. I ignored it at first, assuming someone was calling for staff, but then it came again, louder and shriller. "Excuse me." I turned around to see her, early 50s, frowning like she'd just sniffed sour milk, waving at me like I was a cab she was entitled to hail. Confused, I pointed to myself and said, "Me?" She marched toward me, gesturing toward a 5 kilogram pack of rice balanced high on the top shelf, and said, "Can you get that down for me?" Now, I'm not rude, and I usually try to help where I can, but I didn't want to risk dropping half a shelf of grains on myself. I glanced at the rice, then politely replied, "That one's a bit heavy to pull down safely. You could ask the staff over there. They'll be happy to help." I pointed at 2 employees chatting near the checkout. Then I turned and kept walking. Big mistake. Not 5 seconds later, I felt a yank on my arm. Karen was now physically dragging me back toward the rice shelf, scolding, "It's not that heavy. Just do it. I'm in a hurry." I froze. This woman was yanking on my arm like I owed her something, and I had no idea what to say. I may be tall, but I'm not confrontational. That's when I remembered I have a secret weapon. My wife. She may be small, barely 5'1", but she has the vocal power of an air raid siren and zero tolerance for nonsense. I called her, "Hey, hun, could you come over here? A lady's giving me trouble." Not even a minute later, I saw her coming down the aisle like a storm cloud with sandals. She locked eyes with Karen and said, loud and clear, "Why are you grabbing my husband? He doesn't work here, and he certainly doesn't answer to you." Karen let go of my arm like it was on fire and sputtered, "I just asked him to help with the rice." My wife wasn't having it. "You mean the rice right next to 2 actual employees who were paid to help you?" Karen muttered something about how I was taller and already reaching for stuff. My wife just turned to one of the staff, who had clearly heard the commotion by now, and said, "Excuse me, this woman needs help with something on the top shelf. Can you help her?" The employee nodded and headed over, and Karen shuffled off like a scolded schoolgirl. After that, my wife looked up at me and said, "From now on, we're shopping together. No more solo grain missions for you." We still shop there every other week, and I still get asked to grab things off top shelves. But now, if I see someone who even remotely gives Karen energy, I just wave my wife over and let her handle it. And our next story. How I outsmarted military bureaucracy with $2 and malicious compliance. About 20 years ago, I was enlisted in the Marines. One of the things Marines are famous for is janitorial service. We swept, we mopped, and we buffed the floor like nobody's business. It wasn't wartime. This is Garrison Marine Corps. Since the day I checked in, my platoon was assigned 2 floor buffers. My specific shop within the platoon was accountable for producing these floor buffers during inspection. Thing is, the shop had only ever had 1 floor buffer, and my shop took the hit for not being able to produce a piece of government property during an inspection. More specifically, I took the hit. A year or 2 went by, and perhaps 2 or 3 of these inspections had occurred, all resulting in our inability to produce the 2nd floor buffer, and all giving my shop a black mark on our inspection readiness record, because if you're going to go to war, you're going to need 2 floor buffers. By this time, I get wise to how DRMO works, Defense Reutilization and Marketing Office. Basically, it's where units like mine can dispose of government property and get it off our books, like broken chairs, refrigerators, or even vehicles. Where applicable, each item that was turned in had its serial number recorded, and a receipt for said item and serial number was issued in return. Units could also pick through what was turned in. However, they would be required to add these things to their books cost-free. Civilians or individuals were allowed to buy items, but had to do so out of pocket. Another kick-you-in-the-nards inspection was coming up, so the plan was hatched. A DRMO run was made where a floor buffer handle was procured. As an individual, I believe $2 was handed over to pay for this item. The floor buffer handle, it should be noted, does not contain the serial number of the floor buffer. The big bottom round thing did. The handle was brought back to my shop, engraved with the missing floor buffer serial number, and promptly returned to DRMO. A receipt containing the return of a floor buffer with a serial number that matched the missing floor buffer was issued, and that receipt was taken to our supply officer to remove the specific floor buffer from our inventory. Through malicious compliance, the case of the missing floor buffer was solved. And our last story. I own the house, and I am your landlord. About a year ago, I lost my last remaining grandparent, and my father inherited everything, including a house. My goal had always been to save up for a nice down payment on a home, aiming for at least 50% to lower my mortgage payments and leave me room to save for travel. But when my dad inherited this house, which he had no immediate plans to move into, he offered it to me at a price slightly below market rate, with the condition that he and my stepmother could move into the basement apartment once they were ready. They're both wonderful people, not at all invasive, so I agreed. We struck a deal, and I paid a hefty 60% down payment, financed the rest, and moved in. The house is great, plenty of space, a quiet neighborhood, and everything I could have asked for. I've lived here peacefully for a while, but things have gotten a little complicated recently. About 6 months ago, I started to consider renting out the finished basement apartment. It's got 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a decent-sized living room, and a small kitchenette. No oven, but a fridge and microwave. The space is perfect for a single person or a couple, and with the house being big, it seemed like a good idea to make some extra income off of it. One day, a friend of mine told me his sister, who'd just moved to the city, needed a place to live. She's a new teacher, so her salary isn't much, and she needed somewhere affordable. I decided to offer her the basement at a ridiculously low rate of $650 a month, including utilities. I figured it would be a win-win. She could save money, and I'd have a reliable tenant in a great space. She was thrilled and immediately signed a 1-year lease. Things seemed to go smoothly for the first few months. She paid rent on time, and I had no complaints, until a few days ago when things took a sharp turn. The incident. I was sitting on the couch when she came up to me looking a little uncomfortable. "Hey, I've been thinking," she said. "Could I start paying the landlord directly instead of you? It's just easier that way." I was confused and told her, "We don't have a landlord. I own the house. I'm the landlord." She froze, then her face turned red, and she started yelling at me. "You've been lying to me for 6 months," she screamed. "You've been taking advantage of me, charging me so much in rent, and I've been paying you like you're some middleman when you own the damn place." I was taken aback, but I kept my cool. "I'm not sure what you're upset about. You're paying well below market value for the space, and I'm offering you a nice place to live. Why does it matter who the landlord is?" Her voice grew louder. "What do you mean, why does it matter? How much of your mortgage am I paying? Am I just some cash cow for you? You're making me pay more than I can afford, and you've been pretending to be some middleman the whole time." I was taken aback by how she was reacting. "You're paying what we agreed upon, and it's a fair price. You're getting a place in a great location, access to the full kitchen and laundry and utilities included for $650. That's a deal. I don't see why my finances are part of this." She stormed off, slammed the door to the basement, and that was the last I heard from her. Update. Since then, she hasn't spoken to me. Every time I try to have a conversation, she avoids me. I honestly don't know what she expects from me. She was getting a great deal. The rent she's paying is so low compared to what other places charge in the area, and it's a nice, quiet space. But now she's treating me like I've wronged her somehow. She's paying well below market rate, and the amount you're paying in rent shouldn't impact this as it's your house. Would she expect to live there for free if you'd already paid off the house and had no monthly payment? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.